Guys, welcome to episode 25 of Tank Chats. Today, we're looking at this mean machine. Today we are taking a look at the M163 VADS, Vulcan Air Defense System, otherwise known as the Vulcan, because who wants to use that long M163 VADS armored personnel carrier? Who wants to say that? It's the Vulcan. Right. So, history of this vehicle. So hopping into the history of this vehicle, it's an M113. So we know the history of the M113 already, except this vehicle did not come around until 1968, because of what conflict was going on, Mr. Cameraman?
Vietnam.
Yep, because of Vietnam. So, fire support was a big issue in Vietnam. You need something that can cut through the bush, you need something that can scare the crap out of the Vietnamese. Hence the M61 Vulcan minigun. Ridiculously high rate of fire. This thing would fire 6,000 rounds a minute. But as our other advisor here today told us, if you fire that thing for a minute straight, you're just going to melt the barrel off. But it's a 20mm gatling rotary style cannon. And this actually had a crew of 4. So this is not like your standard M113. This is its own individual vehicle. It wouldn't be as a designated as an armed personnel carrier. This is known as a VADS. So like we said, the Vulcan Air Defense System. So this is meant for anti-air. We'll have electronics and hydraulics and radar, as you can see up there, kind of to help shoot down aircraft. But let's all be realistic. In Vietnam, what are you going to use this for? You're going to chop some trees down. So, what this ended up turning into is basically a direct fire support vehicle. Basically supported the infantry, basically just kept the enemy's heads down, but it could be used for some anti-air purposes as well. This thing saw service with the U.S. from 1968 till 1994, so just a little bit after Somalia and the first Iraq War, Gulf, Desert Shield, all that good stuff. It's still in service with NATO though. This particular vehicle is still in service, so another one that's been retired by the U.S., still in service with NATO, and the Machbat is the Israeli designation of this. I believe they used these until 2006. The Israelis did. They basically upgraded the fire control system, put all their kind of high-tech Israeli stuff on it, and made it basically just a super version of this, just made it a little bit more powerful, a little more accurate, all that good stuff. So, that is the history of this vehicle. With that, we're going to hop into the tour. Alright, so hopping into the tour of the vehicle, as you saw, this is the access panel door to your engine right here. This would add 2 Detroit diesel engines that I'm going to correct myself from last time and give about 250 to 300 horsepower. Power this baby up to 40 miles an hour. If it wanted to, take the no fun switch on speed governor, you could probably be cruising down the highway on this thing at about 60 miles an hour if you really wanted to push it. I've talked to vets and stuff like that. They said that you can push the limits of these things if you take the speed governor off. On the front here, so we have these mounting bolts right here. You can see they actually have mounted track links on the front. So this would be cruise personal preference, but you could do that. You could put extra track links, extra bags, extra equipment on the front, extra armor. This one would have been amphibious, just like an M113. This one doesn't have the flip-up panel either, but you could have a flip-up panel that basically acted as a washboard for the front. That would make it an amphibious vehicle. You have the front drive lights right here. You have the blackout markers right here. More front drive lights right here, another blackout marker. All right, so right here would be your front barrel rest, so you could actually depress the minigun down and lock it into this right here for traveling if you didn't want it shaking and rattling around all over the place like this while you're driving to the trail in Vietnam or whatever you want to do. You have, we're going to look at this on the top a little bit more too, but you have the ventilation right here for the engine. Like I said, the engines, there's 2 right in here. You have these little hooks for storing extra bags and panels and stuff like that. Your driver's hatch right here with his direct vision slits, and he would have his periscope up there. You see the 3 slits there, they've been covered up, but you just have ballistic glass in there. You have front fenders right here. This one doesn't have any markings either. Front tracks, and you have, this one actually does not have towing plugs on the front. We might see some in the back, but this one does not have towing plugs in the front. I believe right here, these are bolt mounts for the front towing plugs though, if you want to put towing plugs on the front of it. This particular version does not have them though. with that, we're gonna hop up. All right, so hopping on top on the turret, or the top of this M163 right here. Starboard hatches I talked about earlier. Direct vision periscope right here. Basically, you just pivot this open and he would sit in there. Now, the money shot. Get a shot of that, Mr. Cameraman, right there. 20mm M61 Vulcan air defense system, gatling gun, rotary cannon, 20mm. Basically to say the ultimate FU to communism. You guys can turn that face into a meme if you want to. Just say FU to communism. Anyway, so what we're looking at here is the kind of quote unquote the turret of the vehicle. So we said we have the VADS right here. This is actually your chain link belt of where the ammunition would actually feed out of. You'd have a round probably about that big. So 20mm, probably about that big. Right here you have kind of like a night sight, like a little spotting scope right here. You have commo coming right here, so you'd have your radio in here. This would be like your radio antenna from inside the vehicle. Around here, this is kind of, I guess you could say, the turret basket, because you can see this, obviously this would rotate. But down there, there's actually the seat. And I believe right here, this is actually the control panel for the cannon, just like that, right there. So this is where your gunner, your commander, and the loader would all they would all be tucked around this vehicle. I believe this extra hatch back here is actually for your extra crewmen back here. So, because I don't think you're going to fit 3 guys in the middle of this. Like we can already see, just me getting in there when we do that will be enough. So you'd have probably 2 guys in there. You'd have the commander and the gunner in there. The loader maybe here. You see these little bustles on the side right here. You probably have extra ammunition storage here. And then, because they did have computers in the 60s, you'd have some kind of ballistics computer or something like that. Basically, you would flip this open. This is basically a giant radar dish. This to kind of help you get proper acclimation of your target and stuff like that, and for air defense. Like I said, this was developed for air defense, but it turned into anti-personnel very quickly, being in the jungles of Vietnam. So, you come back over here. You can see it's got a bunch more of these little hooks for bags and stuff like that, ventilation port, iron bolt lifting plugs. This one has the back ramp, just like with the other vehicles. This is actually access to the inside of the vehicle. You would have the turret. This is basically like where the turret basket would be. This extra hatch for extra crew members and stuff like that. So right here you have more antenna equipment and stuff like that. I'm sure they figure out how to do it. They would probably have an extra machine gun or 2 on this thing as well, other than just the Gatling gun. And of course you'd have guys with M16s in here as well. So with that, we're gonna hop into the side. All right, so hopping into the side toward the vehicle, you have your track links again, just like we saw there. The support wheels are actually under here, under the back a little bit. You have the 5 road wheels. You have the front drive sprocket. Again, torsion bar suspension system that kind of became standard for tanks after, basically after World War II. Like torsion bar was standard by that point, because you see it on pretty much every main battle tank since then, and armored personnel carriers like this. So back here you got the last support wheel as well, under tracks. I think the Israelis did probably some fun stuff with this. I'm sure we did something with it too, where you could add an armor package or something on this, put some ERA or something on there. But basically, this is just your side of the vehicle. You can hang your bags from right here. This is your exhaust right here. You can get some of your exhaust out. And then you have more bolt lifting plugs. So that pretty much does it for the side. Nothing crazy to get into. Just like we looked at the M113. Very similar. So with that, we'll hop into the back. All right, hopping into the back. As you see, you got that signifying feature of it being an armed personnel carrier. You got this handle that would flip down. You have access to the back from this hatch. You would have this, again, is covered up. You'd have a little vision slit back here, kind of just for the crew to look out. But like I said, this was not a personnel carrier. This one was actually an individual vehicle that had a 4-man crew. Back here you have basically just a hook for some extra equipment. This does have towing lugs on the back, so this is what your towing lugs look like on the front. Just the bolts are missing on the front, so they would have something very similar to this up front. You have your tow pintle right here, pin to basically lock it in and out. And right here actually has the electronic piece right here. So you basically put basically an electronic cable into this right here. That'd be used for communications, computers, all kinds of things like that. And also probably to charge some of the systems of the vehicle when you get to the later parts of this vehicle. And you got just like a little hook here, kind of for, I believe actually for locking the door open. So that's what this would be used for right there. So that slit would go right into there and lock her in, so you get in and out. You have the rear fender right here, little storage panels, little brush guard right here, probably room for extra combo equipment and antenna back here. You have these little bolt plugs right here for extra equipment, rear blackout markers, and another little handy dandy handle for you to get onto the vehicle, as well as these kind of little steps right here. So that does it for the back of this vehicle. With that, we're going to hop into the closeout. Incoming air! Incoming air! Guys, with that, thank you for tuning in to episode 25 of Tank Chats. Today we took a look at the M163 VADS, or Vulcan Air Defense System, otherwise known as the Vulcan, with a trusty old 20mm 6,000 rounds a minute gatling gun, to say the ultimate heavy-duty communism. Guys, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.